There is something fascinating that happens in the animal kingdom, and it happens in human beings as well. A woman's silent decision to choose a man as her partner is, in many ways, an invitation to other women to see that man as safe, as worthy, as someone who has already been vetted. It is a phenomenon that transcends species, observed not only in humans but also in birds, fish, and countless other creatures. It is called mate choice copying, and it is one of the most powerful, yet misunderstood, forces in human attraction. A woman who is already in a relationship with a man is, without even trying, signaling to other women that this man has passed a test they have not yet administered. He has been deemed suitable for partnership, for fatherhood, for protection. And that signal, whether conscious or not, evokes a deep curiosity in other women. They begin to wonder, what does she see in him? Why did she choose him? What is it about his character, his presence, his energy that made her decide he was the one? This is not a calculated decision. It is not something women sit down and think through. It happens in seconds, beneath the surface of conscious thought, driven by generations of evolutionary wiring that have shaped the female nervous system to seek safety, stability, and security in a mate. Consider two men. One is on a dating app, his profile carefully curated to attract women. His photos are strong, his description is polished, he says all the right things. He presents himself as the ideal partner. The other man is out in public with his girlfriend, walking through a cafe, laughing at something she said, his hand resting on her back. He is not trying to impress anyone. He is simply living his life, already chosen. Which man do you think attracts more female attention? It is almost always the second man. Not because he is better looking, not because he is wealthier, not because he has some magical secret. It is because he has already been preselected, and that preselection changes everything. It changes how women perceive him. It changes how they interpret his actions. It changes the level of trust they are willing to extend to him before he has even said a word. The single man on the dating app is asking women to trust him based on nothing but his words and his photos. He is asking them to take a leap of faith into the unknown. The man who is already in a partnership is showing them, in real time, that another woman has already taken that leap and found solid ground. Her presence next to him is living proof that he is safe, that he is worthy, that he is capable of being a good partner. This phenomenon is not limited to romantic relationships. It extends into every area of life. When other people respect you, when they seek your opinion, when they value your presence, it signals to others that you are someone worth knowing. This is the principle of social proof, and it is one of the most powerful forces in human interaction. A man who is surrounded by people who respect him, who laugh at his jokes, who listen when he speaks, is a man who becomes more attractive to women. Not because of anything he is doing in the moment, but because of the validation he is receiving from others. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, though not a Stoic, observed that women are more influenced by the opinion of others than by their own judgment. And while that observation may feel harsh, it points to a deeper truth. Human beings are social creatures, and we are wired to follow the crowd when it comes to determining safety and value. When a woman sees that other women have already deemed a man safe, she is more likely to feel safe around him as well. Now, this does not mean that you must be in a relationship to attract women. It does not mean that you are doomed to failure if you are single. What it means is that the qualities that make a man attractive in a relationship are the same qualities that make him attractive when he is single. Confidence, purpose, emotional stability, a strong sense of self. These are the things that signal to women that you are someone worth choosing, whether you are already chosen or not. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote that it is not what happens to us, but how we react to it that matters. And when it comes to attraction, the same principle applies. You cannot control whether a woman notices you. You cannot control whether she is drawn to you. But you can control the energy you bring into every interaction. You can control whether you carry yourself with confidence or with desperation. You can control whether you are grounded in your own purpose or whether you are seeking validation from others. And that is where the real power lies. A man who is confident in himself does not need to be in a relationship to attract attention. His confidence alone signals to women that he is someone worth knowing. He does not chase. He does not beg. He does not try to impress. He simply is. And that simplicity is what makes him magnetic. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your thoughts are colored by confidence, by purpose, by the quiet knowledge that you are enough, your soul reflects that, and others will feel it. They will sense that you are someone who cannot be easily shaken. And that sense of stability is what draws people toward you. The philosopher Seneca wrote that a wise man is content with himself. Be the man who does not need anyone, yet is wanted by everyone because of his presence. That is the kind of man who attracts women, whether he is single or not. One of the most common experiences men have is noticing that they receive more female attention when they are in a relationship than when they are single. It is a frustrating paradox, but it is also a powerful insight. When you are in a relationship, you are not trying to impress women. You are not desperate for their attention. You are simply living your life, and that lack of desperation is what makes you attractive. The desperation that often accompanies singlehood is felt by women, even when it is not spoken. It shows up in the way you look at them, the way you speak to them, the way you try too hard to keep the conversation going. And it pushes them away. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life, won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you are desperate for a woman's approval, you are not free. You are controlled by your need for her validation, and that need is what repels her. But when you let go of that need, when you become content with yourself regardless of her response, you become free. And that freedom is what makes you irresistible. What women are really attracted to is the signal that a man has already been vetted, not by a woman, but by life itself. A man who has faced challenges and overcome them. A man who has built something of his own. A man who has purpose and direction. That is the kind of man who, even when single, projects the same energy as a man in a relationship. He is not seeking validation because he already knows his worth. He is not desperate because he is complete on his own, and women feel that. It is not about having a girlfriend. It is about having an identity that is not dependent on anyone else's approval. The philosopher Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature. And it is human nature to be drawn to those who are whole, who are grounded, who are at peace with themselves. When you are that man, you do not need to chase anything. The right people will find their way to you. But there is a danger in understanding this principle. Some men, upon learning about preselection, try to weaponize it. They pretend to be in relationships. They post photos with women they are not actually dating. They try to create the illusion of being wanted. And this is a mistake, because authenticity cannot be faked. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote that a person's character is revealed not by what he says, but by what he does. When you pretend to be someone you are not building attraction. You are building a house of cards that will inevitably collapse. And when it does, the trust that was built on that illusion will be destroyed. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who wrote extensively on power and human nature, observed that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. When you try to manipulate the tribe's perception of you, you are not being free. You are being controlled by your desire for their approval. True power comes from being so grounded in yourself that you do not need to manipulate anyone's perception of you. You simply are who you are, and that is enough. Another layer to this phenomenon is the role of social media in modern attraction. A man with a strong social media presence, with followers, with engagement, with a demonstrated ability to draw attention, signals to women that he has value. It is a modern form of preselection. But again, the danger lies in creating a false version of yourself. The Stoic philosopher Hierocles wrote that we should approach others as we would approach ourselves, with patience and understanding. When you build a social media presence that is authentic, that reflects your true interests and values, you are creating a foundation for genuine connection. When you build a presence that is designed solely to impress, you are building on sand. And sand, as any builder knows, cannot support a lasting structure. What is the practical takeaway from all of this? It is simple. Stop trying to impress women. Stop trying to convince them of your worth. Instead, build a life that is worth sharing. Develop your character. Cultivate your purpose. Strengthen your relationships with friends and family. Pursue excellence in your work. Take care of your body and mind. When you do these things, you become the kind of man who naturally attracts attention. You do not need to announce your value. It announces itself. The philosopher Musonius Rufus, who profoundly influenced Epictetus, taught that we should not use our words to command, but to persuade and to teach. And the greatest persuasion is not about convincing someone of your worth. It is about demonstrating it through your actions. When you are a man of character, your presence alone persuades. It teaches others what is possible. And that is the foundation of lasting attraction. The phenomenon of mate choice copying is real, but it is a reflection of a deeper truth. Women are attracted to men who have been tested by life and have not crumbled. Men who have purpose, direction, and emotional stability. Men who are not desperate for approval. When you embody these qualities, you become someone that women naturally gravitate toward. Not because you are trying to attract them, but because your presence feels solid, safe, and grounded. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote that no great thing is created suddenly, and the kind of presence that draws a woman in is no exception. It is built through the accumulation of moments, each one building on the last. Each time you choose grounded confidence over desperate performance, you build that presence. Each time you choose purpose over approval, you build that presence. And as you build it, it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your presence. And that presence is what will draw others to you. That is the Stoic path. Not to control others, but to master yourself. And when you master yourself, you stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop pretending. You simply are. And that is when you become the kind of man that women, and indeed all people, naturally want to be around. If this video gave you a new way to think about attraction and preselection, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications, and share this with a man who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below and let me know. Have you noticed the preselection effect in your own life? I read every single one. Stay grounded, stay present, and I will see you right here in the next one.